Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to break down something called co-processing. It's this really fascinating strategy it's kind of changing the whole game for plastics recycling. Think of it as a clever bridge connecting the brand new world of the circular economy with the old school world of fossil fuels. All right, let's dive in.
All right, so picture this. You've cracked the code. You can take a giant mountain of plastic trash and turn it into valuable oil. Awesome, right? But now you've got a billion-dollar question on your hands. Do you go down the asset-heavy path? I'm talking spending billions to build your very own specialized factory to process it? Or do you find a smarter asset-light shortcut? Yep, that's the shortcut we're exploring today.
And that shortcut has a name: co-processing. It's all about literally plugging the new circular economy directly into the massive, existing infrastructure of the fossil fuel economy. It really is a bridge between two completely different worlds.
So what is it exactly? Well, to put it simply, instead of building a whole new plant, the company that makes this recycled oil, it's often called pyrolysis oil, just sells it directly to a fossil fuel refinery. Then the refinery takes that oil, blends it with their normal crude oil, and processes it all together using the equipment they already have.
And listen, this isn't some tiny experimental idea we're talking about. The biggest names in the energy business, we're talking giants like Total Energies, Neste, and Repsol, are already doing this. They're using their existing, paid-for refineries to help them hit their green targets. But how does it actually work once you get inside the refinery gate?
You see, a refinery is this sprawling, incredibly complex city of pipes and reactors. You can't just dump this recycled oil in anywhere you want. Choosing the right door to go through is absolutely critical, and there are basically two main options. On one hand, you've got what we'll call the beast. This is the fluid catalytic cracker, or FCC. It's the tough, robust workhorse of the refinery that makes stuff like gasoline. It's built to handle some pretty rough material. But on the other hand, you have the delicate instrument, the steam cracker. This thing is the precise, sensitive heart of the entire plastics industry. It's what turns feedstocks into the pure building blocks for new plastics.
Okay, and this is where it gets really fascinating. Just look at the dramatic difference in the entry requirements here. To get your oil into the steam cracker, which remember, is the path you need to create new plastics in a truly circular loop, your product has to be almost perfectly pure. The beast is a bit more forgiving, but for that delicate instrument, there is absolutely no room for error. And this just brilliantly illustrates the stakes. We are talking about a chlorine limit of less than 1 part per million. To put that in perspective, that's like finding a single drop of a substance in an entire swimming pool. Anything more than that, and you could cause catastrophic damage. The risk for the refinery operator is, it's enormous. A single bad delivery, just one batch of oil that doesn't meet those incredibly exact specifications, could force an emergency shutdown of a plant that's worth billions of dollars. And that's why they are so cautious.
So, this brings us to a really important question. If this blending thing works, why not just go all in? Why not run the refinery on 100% recycled oil and make everything fully circular?
Well, the answer is all about managing that immense risk we were just talking about. It really comes down to a simple, unspoken rule that pretty much governs all refinery operations. In the real world, refineries will only blend a tiny amount of this recycled oil into their conventional feedstock. We're typically talking just 5 to 10%. This creates what the industry calls the blend wall, and it's a hard limit on how much of this new stuff they're willing to take a chance on.
And here is that unspoken mantra. The solution to pollution is dilution. The whole idea is to protect their multi-billion-dollar assets by basically drowning the potentially problematic recycled oil in a massive sea of normal crude oil. They're hoping that any nasty contaminants just get diluted down so much that they can't do any real harm.
So, what are they so worried about? Well, it boils down to 3 major risks. First, corrosion. Things like chlorine creating acids that literally eat away at the metal pipes. Second is fouling. That's when gummy, sticky stuff clogs up vital equipment. And third is catalyst poisoning, where contaminants permanently kill the super expensive chemicals that make all the reactions happen.
Okay, but wait a second. If these recycled molecules are just getting mixed into a giant tank with fossil molecules, how can anybody prove that the final plastic pellets are actually circular or green? This is where the paper trail becomes every bit as important as the pipeline.
You see, to claim the environmental benefits, and maybe more importantly, to get the higher price that comes with them, you have to follow a super rigorous audited tracking system.
If you don't have that certification, your valuable recycled oil is, financially speaking, no different than just another barrel of crude oil. This system is called a chain of custody, and the big one you'll hear about is ISSC+. It uses what's called a mass balance approach. The easiest way to think about it is like a bank account. If you put 10 tons of recycled material in, you can then certify and sell 10 tons of the final product as circular, even though the physical molecules are all mixed up. And this system tracks the material at every single step, from proving the feedstock was real waste to documenting it going into the refinery and finally allocating that circular credit to a specific batch of product. And getting the certification, it's not easy. It means you need complete traceability from the trash can all the way to the final product. You have to prove your feedstock is sustainable, you have to do calculations showing the greenhouse gas savings, and you have to pass tough, regular audits from independent groups. So, all of this brings us right back to that fundamental choice we started with. Do you go for the high-risk, high-reward path of building your own upgrading facility? That gives you total control and you get to keep all the profits. Or do you take the more pragmatic, lower-risk path of co-processing, where you avoid those huge upfront costs, but you have to share the profits with your refinery partner?
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Look, co-processing isn't a perfect system. And yeah, it relies on the existing fossil fuel industry. But is this imperfect, practical bridge between the old and new economies the key, maybe the fastest and most realistic way to finally make the circular economy a reality on a global scale?